Okay, so I'll just go ahead and get started. Thanks for everyone who's here live today. And I know we often have people getting the recording after the fact, which is also great. So today we're going to talk about connecting with your child or your children through play, which is a really fun topic for me. I provide play therapy services to children. So I think play is obviously super important. And also, parents are with their kids all the time. So it's great to know all the benefits of play, what you can get out of it at home. And what's kind of how it can evolve over different ages. So my name is Emily Supino. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have a private practice in the Valley with offices in Aspen and in Basalt, and I work with a number of different schools. I'm also the Kids First Early Childhood Mental Health Consultant, so working with different early childhood centers and families in Picken County. So, and I provide these parent workshops. We try to do one once a month. Sometimes it's maybe once every 6 weeks or so. Yeah, just try to provide some insight onto different topics that could be helpful for parents and child care providers. So, let's see, hold on. Here we go. So why is play important? And, I think this is kind of there are a lot of reasons why. But really play is how young children are learning and connecting with the world around them. Play is how kids learn. It's how they communicate. It's how they, connect with their peers and with their family members. And it's really how they process what's going on around themselves as well. So in the counseling setting, especially, play therapy can be so important because kids don't have language to come in and talk about their feelings. They're not going to sit down on the chair across from me and tell me that they're having tantrums because they feel mad at their mom and dad, right? That's not what kids do. They are processing what's going on around them, and their feelings and development and all those things is coming out through their play. They need play to work through what's going on in their day-to-day lives. So it's really how they process feelings. And when I talk about play, I think about you know, COVID, when kids were not interacting with other peers as much, and just what an impact that had on them. I mean, they're home with their parents and maybe with siblings, but not having that ability to really dive into some intense, hardcore, pretend play with same-aged peers. I think it really impacted how children were processing what was going on around them, a global pandemic. And so it was kind of through that lens that I really saw how important play is for kids, and how even if they don't have peers in the moment to be able to play, how parents can step in and try to facilitate some of those really important play like scenarios to help kids process through what's going on in their life. So play also helps build flexible, creative thinking skills. So if you just think about how kids pretend play and different scenarios that they come up with, they're less likely to get stuck in one way of thinking when they can create these own stories for themselves and interact with others. And then when another child brings a whole nother type of scenarios into the scene, then they can also see things from multiple perspectives. So it helps kind of create that flexible thinking for kids. And it also helps build emotional tolerance. And we'll talk about this a bit throughout the presentation today, but it helps build longer attention spans. So think about different things, at all different age ranges that you can do with kids, where they're having to take turns, or they're painting a picture or coloring something, and it is requiring them to sit still and to finish something, right? That's building that attention span skill. It also can help build frustration tolerance, which I do a lot with kids in the playroom. But this idea of, it's okay if something is hard and we have to work at it and we're not going to get it right the first time. And play helps facilitate that tolerance of, oh, this was hard, but let's keep going. Oh my gosh, this was hard for me too. But I can handle this frustration and I can push through it. So it's some different ways to build skills and help teach those skills in a way that is age appropriate and connecting with your child. Um, and play helps build empathy. So it promotes the use of problem solving skills and seeing things from another's point of view. So I'll talk about this too, about some different ways that we can build some of that empathy into play with even young infants. I have a 1-year-old, and just noticing how her play with a baby doll is kind of building those empathy skills. So again, play is so important. It overall is helping build some really important executive functioning skills, social emotional skills, things that we grow on and we need for the rest of our lives. So just to kind of give a glimpse into play therapy, because I think this can help when we talk about why play is so important at home as well. And then I have a lot of parents who ask, okay, you do play therapy, but what can we do at home? So in my practice, when I have children come into the playroom with me, it is so important that I give them full control of the playroom. So I have very basic, minor kind of safety rules. I don't even like to call them rules if I can get around it. I just kind of talk about how we keep ourselves safe. We keep our materials safe. We keep, the room safe, so kind of just talk about general safety. But other than that, I try to just let them have full control of what we do. And I really encourage exploration and free choice. So the way I think about it is kids have so much that they're told to do every day. They have very little control over their lives. And the playroom is somewhere where they can feel empowered and they feel in control of what they're doing. And my hope is to really support their nervous system and help create a very regulated nervous system within that play space. And I say this because when we talk about how play is a form of connection with parents, it's all actually very similar. So what we're trying to get to is a child who feels regulated, who feels calm. This is when they're ready to learn. This is when they can feel connected and they can really take in the most around them, is when their brains are regulated, their frontal cortex is engaged. So that is what I am trying to facilitate in the play space. So there's no right or wrong thing to do. If they want to take out all these games and then decide, you know what, I want to move on to do some art, we can do that. Cleaning up in my play space is optional. I do not require it. It is part of the process. And if a child chooses not to clean up, I honor that. It's more about working on those skills in the moment and not requiring them to come clean with me. But there's no right or wrong thing, and they can move from one activity to another. And all of this is actually providing opportunities for me to model behaviors and language through the play. So for example, like I already talked about, I can model emotional tolerance, that frustration tolerance. If I can't get the glue open or it spills on the table, I can say, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating when I spill the glue, what a mess. But I can handle this feeling. I know what to do. I can clean it up. And I kind of talk to myself, and I'm modeling that language to a child in the play, in real time, in the play setting. I'm not teaching it to them, specifically. I'm showing them how I can model that tolerance. I reflect feelings back. Oh, wow, this game is so exciting. I can see your body getting really excited and you seem like you're having a lot of fun and you're happy. And then I can relate play to real life situations. So in a dollhouse situation, if there is, the mom leaves for work and the baby is crying, I can say, oh, it's really hard when mom goes to work. I bet, maybe sometimes you feel sad too, and try to bring in some real life situations, especially if I know kind of what some of the issues are that parents are reporting. I look for themes in play. Often kids come into the playroom and will kind of repeat the same kind of theme over and over again, whether that's kind of good guy, bad guy type play, stuff in the dollhouse again, where maybe the dad goes to work and the mom does that, like there is a theme over and over again. Which sometimes tells me that a child is processing through a specific life event or a transition. Sometimes if there's trauma, it might play out in the playroom as well. So I kind of look for those over time. But it's also important to not read too much into the context of the play, because if, parents are, sometimes you could be concerned if the play involves killing or, seems violent. I don't pay attention to that context so much. I really try to hone in on, does the child seem calm? Do they seem regulated? What are some other underlying themes that we can bring out here that might relate to what's going on in their lives? But I don't really, pay too much attention to the details, because again, they are kids and they are just playing, and that is okay. So it's really about finding ways to insert language and skills and developing that connection. That is the most important. So I give this as a baseline because I think that this goes into, how play at home with your own child can be really beneficial. Ultimately, play builds connection. And I kind of will use play and connection. They kind of go hand in hand when I'm talking about how we're interacting with our kids. So connection is a form of co-regulation. Co-regulation is so important. It's when kids can kind of borrow our, their caregivers' regulation in order to calm down. It requires us as adults to really check ourselves and to try to show up as regulated as possible in certain situations. But kids need help to calm their nervous systems when they're dysregulated, and they're going to look for us, their caregivers, or adults in their lives, for help. And play can come into this. So play can help teach give these emotional literacy skills, and it helps teach resilience. So what we are modeling to children is, things can be really hard, things can seem out of control. I can be in control as the parent, and you can borrow my nervous system to help you control your own nervous system. I am here to help guide you along and show you that you are resilient and that you can get through this. And I'm going to help you by giving you some language to talk about your feelings. So this can all happen through play. And connection is how we build strong attachments with children. So something that I talk to parents about a lot is, how do you connect with your child every day? What does this connection look like? Often this connection is play. And I suggest, I borrow this from a book called Listen by Patty Whitfler. But she talks about finding at least 10 minutes a day of connect time with your child. And ideally, if you have more than one child, this can be one-on-one time with each kid, where there's no agenda and you really let your kids guide this time together. How do you want to connect? And if you think about young kids, this is often playtime. They want to play with you, and they want to do it in a way that it's what they want to do. It's not, the parents saying, "Oh, let's walk over to the park," or, I'll play go fish with you. It's really giving the kids opportunities to say, "This is what I want to do with you right now, mom," or "This is what I want to do right now with you, dad." And it's just one-on-one connect time. Often when kids are playing, this is when they might open up and say, I had a rough day at school today, or I felt sad, or they might want to chat, because when they feel connected, they are more likely to start to talk and open up. So connection time really does, it is playtime. So finding those opportunities to get on your child's level, to connect with them, and to play with them. And if you can do that for 10 minutes a day, and maybe it's connecting through reading. Maybe it's 10 minutes right before bedtime where they get to choose what story you read, or if they want to tell you want you to tell them a story, they can have some choice in the matter. But making sure that connect time is really something that your kids are driving, and you're kind of all in. There's no screens, there's no phone, that you're just giving them your undivided attention. And often that's going to be them wanting to play with you. So play helps build these strong relationships with your child, and when you can incorporate humor and laughter, it really can improve the quality of your relationship. Play can help heal disagreements and resentment or hurt. So if there's been a situation where your child had a big meltdown, maybe you reacted in a way that you don't love and feel great about, and we're trying to repair, play and humor and laughter can help children feel safe, and that they can learn to trust again, and that it can repair that relationship. A lot of times when I have families coming to see me and I'm working with kids, I'll ask about this connection piece, and I'll say, talk to me about attachment styles, and how do you connect with your kid. And a lot of struggles can be positively impacted when that connection time goes up. Sometimes parents will say, you know what, we've just had a huge life transition. I'm going back to work full time. I haven't really had time to play with her very much, and connect. And that connect time is really, kind of gone out the window. And oh, it's kind of around the same time we started seeing these different behaviors. I don't say that they're 100% correlated. However, there can be an impact there. And so often when parents can increase that connection time, some of these behaviors do start to improve, because what it's doing is it's building, um, it's helping kids feel regulated and safe to experience the world around them, because their nervous systems feel much more regulated. So play with parents is different than play with siblings and peers. So this is, I do this all the time. We're at a friend's house or we have friends over, and I'll say to my son, why do you want me? Like, why? Go play with your friend. You've been excited to play with your friend all day. And now we're here and you want me to come and do this thing with you. And what studies show is that kids, infants, preschoolers, they engage and play in a different way with caregivers. They actually they want to they engage in play that requires partners when playing with parents compared to with their siblings. So for example, they want to do, play catch, or something that requires two people. And that is intentional, because what they're saying is, I want to interact with you. I want the back and forth with you. I am craving this attention and this interaction with you. And that's not to say that every time you're at a play date and the kid just wants you, that you have to appease them and do that. But kind of, I tell parents, be a detective and look into what's the behaviors are saying. And if they're adamant about wanting you when they have all this other stimulation going on and other kids, it could be that they're actually really craving that attention. Perhaps they were at school all day, and now you have a play date, but they actually do just want to interact with you. Is it attention seeking? Yes, it is attention seeking. And I know parents kind of get hung up sometimes on, oh, they just want attention. They're just looking for attention. Attention seeking is okay. It's actually telling parents, I want to feel connected to you. I want this time with you. And so sometimes we do just need to lean in and listen to that. And play is important for all ages, and it's going to look different at all ages. it's still important to play with your child, whether or not they're 6 months old or 16 years old. Play, it can look different, and it's important to incorporate that into your parenting style and your relationships at all ages. So obviously, as parents, we have to learn how to adapt to our child's different developmental stages. We're not going to play Tickle Monster with our teenagers. That's not age appropriate necessarily. So what does it look like at these different ages? And we'll talk a bit more about that as we go along. It's also important to remember that play is going to look different with different temperaments as well. And a few months ago, I did a parent workshop on making and keeping friends, and this kind of goes along with that workshop as well, about being mindful of our children and how they interact with peers and how they interact with one another, and are they kind of these introverts or extroverts, and what is their nervous system looking for in play. And you might have one child who is very outgoing, loves being around other kids, loves playing with other kids. And you might have one who really would prefer just one or two other peers when they're playing, a bit more introverted, might be a bit more sensitive to sensory stuff. So their play is going to look a little bit different. So being mindful of your child and kind of how they're presenting and what their temperament is important when you're trying to play. And just remember that play is about connecting with your child and engaging with them in the way they want to play. It is not necessarily about you, the parent, and what you believe is the most fun, because you're obviously going to have a different view of what you want to do for play, and it might not be what your child is looking for in that moment. So again, if it might be it's our connect time. What do you want to do? Maybe you'd rather just kind of lay there and look at books together, but your child really wants to color, and that's what they want to do for their connect time. Being able to just be flexible and lean into what it is that they are wanting to do in that moment to connect with you is really important. And play is good for parents. And I'm going to show a video of myself eventually, where I'm playing with my 1-year-old. Well, she was not quite one at the time, but and just how we as parents can get a lot out of it too, if we can kind of let ourselves just relax and engage. Studies show that oxytocin is released when parents engage in affectionate play with their children of any age. Oxytocin is a hormone that's released in the brain, and it is activated during social bonding interactions. So, and then it's also activated during, nursing and childbirth, all these interactions that where kind of social bonding is taking place. So just remember this the next time you're so exhausted and your child wants to play with you and connect, and you're thinking, I don't have time for this. I can't do this. I'm so tired. I really struggle with this after hours of playing with other children in my office, and then my own children want to play with me. But it actually is beneficial to your brain, and you are getting something out of it, and your nervous system is too. So maybe that'll help kind of give you a little extra energy to just do that 10 minutes and engage with your child, even when you're pretty maxed out. So how do we play? It's okay to feel awkward and silly. I feel awkward and silly all the time in my playroom or with my own kids. And some people can just jump in and do it. And some parents really struggle. So, and it's okay to feel that way. So just own, okay, this makes me feel uncomfortable and silly. But your children don't know, and they really don't care, and they just want to have fun with you. The most important components are that we are actively observing. So we're not, we're saying, what do you want to do? Show me what you want to play. I'm sitting right here with you. We're not the ones who are saying, okay, now we're doing this. Oh, get the baby and now do this. We're letting the children kind of drive the play, kind of like I do in the playroom. But we're letting our own kids kind of say, okay, mom, I'm going to get this out, and you brush the doll's hair now, and kind of let them guide it. We listen to them. So if they want to talk to us during this play or connect time, they want to tell us a story about what happened at school that day, or they want to tell us a story about this doll that we're playing with, we listen. We observe, we listen, we're present, and we support their chosen mode of play. So we're okay with what they are choosing and what they want to do, obviously, as long as everybody is safe, or it's appropriate. We're not, if it's dumping snow outside and they want to go to the park, or there's a thunderstorm and they want to go outside, we might not be able to do that. So we can always set boundaries, but we support their chosen mode of play and we engage in conversation. These are opportunities. When they feel connected to us and their nervous system feels regulated, these are opportunities to talk with our kids, for things to come out naturally, and they do. Kids will start to talk to you. My son, he will open up right as we're going to bed, because we've had this great bonding time. We've done bedtime, we've gotten in bed, we've read stories. He feels very connected to me. And this is when I get, oh, mom, on the playground today, so-and-so was mean to me. It made me feel really sad. And we can have that connect time, because he feels safe in that moment and he feels connected. And that's when kids are going to open up. And so finding, these opportunities to connect and play and help our kids feel safe and listened to and supported is actually when we might get the most information out of them. The key is to provide mutual interaction without continually intervening or controlling the conversation. It's really hard, because we might want to jump in and say, no, do this instead, or let's do this instead. Oh my gosh, but what about this? And play is about letting our children guide the play and just being there and connected with them. So I'm going to go through some different ages, and I'm realizing this might be a bit of a shorter parent workshop, which is fine. There's more opportunity for questions also at the end. But I'm going to go through some different ages here, kind of starting with birth to 6 months. You might be thinking, what do we do with a small baby? How do we play? There are so many ways to play, and it starts with a baby's first smile. That is them interacting with you, and it starts with those little play mats, and then looking at things that are like right here in their face that they can only see in black and white. So that is play, and providing these opportunities for them to play and being right there with them. So when parents respond with a smile, it's teaching a really important social emotional communication skill, which is, you can get my attention by smiling. You can get other people's attention by smiling. People react to smiles. So that is play, and that is language, and that's engaging. Imitating coos and babbles. It's teaching vocal turn taking. I have all these great videos that unfortunately I couldn't get to link today, but of kind of me doing this back and forth with my infant, where they're just talking to you and you talk back, and they realize, if I say this, she's gonna talk back to me in this really sweet voice, and then I'm gonna make this sweet voice, and then she comes back to me, and that feels really good because she's talking to me in that sweet voice, right? We're teaching that vocal turn taking. Showing baby interesting objects and toys, letting them safely explore the objects with their mouth. So babies have the most nerve endings in their mouths. So this is why everything goes to the mouth when they're, nursing and they're really young. I mean, this is where they're fed. So there are the most neurotransmitters and neural pathways going to their brain happening from the mouth. So this is why this is how they explore things. And it's how they're learning about different things and different objects and textures and stuff like that. Tummy time in different positions, so they can see the world from different angles. So these are ways to play with young babies. And here's just a picture of my two, and of my youngest gazing lovingly at her older brother, while he's smiling at her and she was smiling at him. And it was this great back and forth of smiling. I realized going through pictures, I don't have a lot of pictures of myself engaging with the baby because I'm taking a lot of them. But just, you can see here how that connection, and if I smile, you smile, and she's kind of learning that back and forth. 7 to 12 months. So again, we want to provide that safe environment for a baby to crawl around and explore his or her surroundings. So this is how they're going to play, and they're going to start learning that actions have effects. So when they drop a toy, it falls to the ground. A great way to play with a baby when you have enough time and patience. They drop the toy, you pick it back up. They drop the toy, you pick it back up. And they love this, that back and forth. If it drops, it goes to the ground, and so is going to pick it back up. And this is this really fun back and forth. Facial expressions are huge, making facial expressions at them, having them look in the mirror at you as you make facial expressions, at themselves as they make facial expressions. This is the very foundation for emotional literacy, and starting to learn about different emotions, and seeing themselves and what they look like and what other people look like. So this is great at that age. The idea of object permanence, which is the idea that if they can't see it, it still exists. So that's basically what peekaboo is. And if you've noticed in your little one that for a long time, if you put your hands in front of your face, they really thought you were gone. And then eventually they realize you're not gone, you're still there. But it's just so fun to play peekaboo, and so exciting when you put your hands down and there you are again. And then all these opportunities to provide sensory experiences. So how can they touch grass and bubbles and water, and learn what different things feel like, and kind of build that tolerance for different sensory experiences as well. So I will go to this video of myself, and obviously it's a very, oh, I hope I didn't just lose it. I thought it was right here. Hold on. Sorry about this. I know it's right up here. I must have moved. Okay, here we go. So this is kind of some of that back and forth with I think she was about 10 or 11 months here.
No, I've invited her on the train to ride back to Toronto, Ontario. Dinner together in the dining car. Why don't you want to join us? Oh, that's so good. But where's Mama? Where's Mama? Where's Mama? Where's Mama?
Okay, so we don't have to do the whole thing here, but okay. So, what I like about this video, there were a couple things. I mean, I was obviously trying to teach a little bit. She was smacking me in the face, so I was trying to really work on gentle touches. The peekaboo back and forth. I think she would make a facial expression at me. I would make it back to her. And I was laughing. I mean, like gut laughing. As it goes on, I'm laughing even harder because she can't get the hat off my face. And that oxytocin that I talked about, that release of, truly enjoying that back and forth with my child. And so I just, as parents, think about those times where, gosh, sometimes play is so hard. Sometimes you're exhausted and it doesn't feel all that fun. And then sometimes it just clicks and you really truly are having fun and you're laughing with your kiddo. And that's when that oxytocin is being released. And that's when those really great connections are being formed. And children are picking up on like, my mom or dad is really having fun right now. So that's kind of what I liked about that video, is that I was obviously getting something out of this interaction as well. So 1 to 3 years was just such a huge span. But I kind of, for the sake of time, I didn't want to have slides for like every age group, but We want time for unstructured playtime. So this can happen at home, but really it's if your child is in an early child care center, making sure that there's unstructured playtime happening there because this is so important, whether it's happening with you or with peers. So we want that time to just explore and play on their own. Pretend play is so important, and they're starting to learn different skills. So and something like drinking out of a cup, this is so good, kind of building that back and forth. Baby dolls. So my 14-month-old has just started getting into baby dolls, and she'll pick it up and she pats it and she said shh, 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 shh. And then I remember my son, when he was that age, eventually, oh, the baby doll would fall and we'd pick it up, we'd say, oh no, the baby doll. Okay, this is building empathy, right? This is building those social emotional skills of, oh, I need to take care of somebody is sad, I'm going to love them and hug them, and this makes them feel better, right? Those are really important skills. Pretend play is so great because it allows for turn taking. I've had parents ask before, at what point do we stop letting young toddlers just kind of take things from us and do whatever they want? And that's a really great question, because right now I think my 1-year-old would have a hard time with turn taking, but eventually, as they get maybe a little closer to 2, you can say, okay, you have a turn and then mommy has a turn, you have a turn and then I have a turn, and we can start incorporating some of that turn taking into our play. Things like blocks and empty containers and wooden spoons are great opportunities to sit down and play with your child. They're simple and they're inexpensive. They're great ways to support creativity and understanding of how the world works. Stir with the spoon, or you can hit this. This is going to make this sound if you hit this with this spoon. You can put things in the empty containers. You can empty them back out if you build things with the blocks. Eventually it's going to fall down, right? They're starting to learn how gravity works, and that things can go in containers and come back out. So that these are skills that are really important, and it doesn't take fancy toys or gadgets. It's your presence and attention that matter. It really, and this is true in the playroom with me when I do counseling, it's not about the items in the room. It really is about how I am engaging with them and the things that we can bring out of that play. And it's the same way with you as caregivers. It's about your presence and your attention. It's not about the toy. It's how you're interacting with the child. Providing opportunities for play with peers is important at this age, and a lot of it's going to be more parallel play. They're not going to be engaging so much with each other, but often they play next to each other, but they're still learning from each other, and it's really important to provide those opportunities and know your child. Temperament's important, and if they're better with maybe 1 or 2 same age peers, then start with that. If they're fine, they love being around other kids, that's great, but also know your child and try not to overstimulate them too much. Gross motor play, so finding those opportunities to move their bodies, dancing, jumping, standing on one leg. These are great ways to play, having dance parties, jumping on the bed, or just different ways to use your body and play with them is helping them learn some of those gross motor skills. Reading regularly, so important. And you don't have to actually read the words of the book. Just look through the pages, point out pictures, point out facial expressions, mimic the facial expressions. Again, great ways to teach skills and connect with your kiddo. Singing songs and rhyming. Kids this age, I mean, they love songs. They love singing, books that rhyme, making up rhymes. This is a fun way to just kind of get on the ground and engage with them and really get down there, be on their level, play on the floor, get on the ground. And then this is the age where they really just want to roll around and kind of be with you, and see how you play and can be silly, and things like that. And so I know it's hard. And after a long day of being exhausted, you might not have capacity for all of this, and that's okay. carve out whatever time you can. If it's 10 minutes of I'm going to lay down on the floor and my 1 year old's going to crawl over with this book and grunt at me, and that means she wants to look at it with me, and I'm going to look at it. Or she found this block and we're gonna put the blocks in this box, right? Letting the little one kind of guide the play, but providing that unstructured time for you to just lay there and connect is so important. 4 to 6 years, what a fun age. This is when you can really incorporate some other activities into play, like art and music and singing and dancing and drawing. Asking your 4 to 6 year old, your preschooler, what do you want to do right now? You have mommy's full attention. What do you want? I'd love to play with you right now. Do you have some ideas? If you feel like you need to put some parameters around it because you have a 4 to 6 year old who will come up with some pretty big ideas, that's great. Say, I am so excited to spend some time with you right now. Here are some things that I think, that here are some options of what we can do. Or we're going to play inside right now. What sort of inside games do you want to play? So you can put parameters around it without necessarily having rules. Um, Again, if you have a child who might have some big idea, this is not them getting to do whatever they want. And it's still an opportunity to say, I'd love to play with you. What kind of ideas do you have right now? And what could we do? Telling stories, reading stories, asking questions about what they remember from the stories. These are great ways to connect. I will mention screen time. If your child loves a certain cartoon, if it's been a long day, you're looking for ways to connect, lay down and watch Daniel Tiger with your kiddo. Watch the cartoon, ask them questions about what's going on. What did you take away from this? This can be connect time too. And I don't want to say it can't ever have anything to do with screens or TV. It shouldn't always. But if this is a way for you to connect once in a while and just be there with them and ask questions, then that can be a connection activity also. So unstructured dress up and role playing can be really fun, acting out different scenes. So, this is where you can provide materials, you can have dress up things, but you let them decide how they want to play with it. Maybe they want to go upstairs and dress up and come down and surprise you. Maybe they want you to put this hat on, but it's a police hat, but they want you to be something else, right? They can kind of guide that play. I do mention to parents to just be mindful of your biases and about gender norms and things like that. Really, what I mean is, if a boy wants to dress up in a Frozen Elsa dress because they like that it feels silky or it's sparkly, that being flexible with that, and that we don't have to read too much into that, but also kind of what does that bring up for you as a parent? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Does it make you feel worried? And just being mindful about how that might come across to your child, because we want them to feel safe and connected, and that their play is fun, and that there's nothing really right or wrong about their play. So just kind of being mindful of what it brings up for you and how you might communicate that to your kiddo. Another thing to be mindful about, I have a lot of parents who get worried about, like, why does my kid always want to pretend to be the bad guy? And this is so normal. And it's really kids exploring this, these different roles. And my son was that kid. And every single movie, he would then want to play the bad guy. I mean, he loved The Lion King and he wanted to be the hyenas, and the hyenas are terrible. And we'd be like, why does he want to be the hyena? What does this mean? And they're interested. They're pushing the limits. Sometimes the bad characters are the funny characters, right? They're just exploring these different roles, and it's all very normal. So just being sure not to read too much into that kind of play, because it doesn't mean your child wants to be bad. It just means they're kind of exploring, like, what does it mean to push the rules a little bit, or get this reaction. It really is just about learning different social skills and different roles. So, scheduling time for your child to interact with friends. At this age, there is more interaction happening. It's not so much parallel play. That time with peers is important, whether it's happening at school or outside of school. Again, being mindful of your child's temperament. Encouraging gross motor development with opportunities for different movements. So, okay, we just got home from school. I have to make dinner soon. What can we do together that's outside? I'd love to go outside with you right now and spend this time with you. What would you like to do? You can go for walks. Maybe they want to ride the bike around the neighborhood together. Dancing, again, dance parties can be so fun and a way to just everyone have fun and release that oxytocin. Jumping, so opportunities for gross motor and balancing media use and screen time. So this can be playtime. If you like to play, if you have a video games, Nintendo, and you want to play Mario Kart together, if that's a way that you guys have fun, you're laughing, that's great. Doesn't have to be every time you play or connect. So finding that balance is important. So here's an image, just kind of some of that gross motor play. Man, how many times could my son jump off of this tooth? Probably 20, 30 times in a row. It's just so fun. I jump, my dad catches me, we have a hug, we laugh, and I go back up and do it again, right? Just that over and over. This is fun. This is what I want to do right now with dad. I also bring this one. This is my brother. He does not have kids yet, but he is so good with kids. And just what a great, and they are having a dance party and they're kind of, I can't remember what song it is, but they're all getting low and dancing. And again, just these opportunities to have fun, laugh, fun dance moves, and then to see a grown-up kind of get down and have fun like that too. Kids love that stuff. So when we can be silly with our kids, it just provides those opportunities for laughter and for connection. So 7 years to adolescence, again, another huge age range, and things are going to look different, right, within this age range. But there are some common themes here. We want to engage with what your child is interested in. Ask questions about what they're doing. Ask them what they want to do with you. So really say, I want to spend this time with you. We can, we have 10 minutes right now or 20 minutes or whatever it is. What is it that you want to do? What are you interested in right now? Can you tell me about it? This might evolve. This might have more to do with screen time and video games and things that they like, which is fine as long as it's a balance. It's not the only thing that they're interested in. It's not the only way you know how to connect with your child. So finding a balance is important. And if it's, hey, tell me where this level that you're on your video game right now, I'd love to sit here and watch with you and you can tell me about what's going on. If that's how you can connect in that moment, that's great. Tell me about what book you're reading. Can we go for a dog walk together? And can you tell me about the chapter book that you're really into right now? So finding these opportunities to connect and have it be about what they're interested in and what they're into is really important. Playing games, card games, playful games, something about games that's so great. And this is also for the younger age too. I forgot to mention it. Games are such an incredible opportunity to connect, to have fun, and to build skills. I don't know about you. I have one of these kiddos who just really hates to lose and has a meltdown if he doesn't win. And it can be hard and it can be stressful. And sometimes I don't want to play a game if he's going to act like that. And there are opportunities to teach frustration tolerance, emotional tolerance, winning and losing skills, being very patient. I understand this is hard for you and validating, right? So games can be such great opportunities to connect, to have fun, but also to build skills because kids have a hard time losing, and that's very normal. There's a great book called Playful Parenting. Larry Cohen talks about this game called the sock game, which is really fun with a lot of ages. So if you kind of have a range in your home, but everyone sits on the floor and they have socks on. And when you say go, they try to take off other socks, but keep your own on. So people are kind of wild on the floor and it can just be silly and lots of laughing. So fun, playful games as a family, or, some one-on-one games with your kids as well. But games are such great opportunities to teach. So kind of keep that in mind. muster up the patience for your child who doesn't like to lose and is going to have a meltdown, and try to teach some skills too. Humor is amazing. And especially as your kids get older into those teenage years, finding opportunities to laugh, joke, it can be so important. Have joke contests. My kid loves to make up jokes and they make no sense, but we have great belly laughs at dinner when we do that. So opportunities to connect through laughter and joking. Tell me about the funniest part of your day. Did anything make you laugh today? What was it? So those are great ways to connect and play. Being physically active together. So obviously as kids get older, they have more gross motor skills. They're a lot more active. So is your play going skiing together? Is it going biking together? Does your kid want to do that? That's important, you know. Sometimes skiing is just something we do as a family, but is it play? Is it something that your child is choosing? So being mindful about it also being something that they're guiding is important. Listening to music, especially with older kids, this is a great way to connect, to have kind of to play together. You know, they might not want to, but hey, play some music that you're interested in right now, talking to them about the music. Sometimes when they feel comfortable and it's their own music and they're in the car, this is when you're going to have the best conversations with your adolescent or teenager. So connecting through things that they're interested in, and music can be a really big one. Reading together, whether you're still reading to your 7, 8, 9-year-old, or whether they're reading to you, or you're all reading in the room together and then taking a break to say, hey, tell me about what's going on in your book. Play is still an opportunity to process deeper issues, even when it's more structured play. When kids feel connected, they're more likely to open up. So even if, you know, it's not this pretend play where they're kind of playing out something and you're like, oh, I know that I just went back to work and now they're playing in the dollhouse and the mom keeps going back to work. Like that's pretty obvious, right? They're working through an issue in that pretend play. Even if they are 12 years old and, you know, you guys are walking down to the river together because they're excited to go, you know, fish for a few minutes or throw some rocks into the river because that's what they want to go do. That is still play and connection time. And it might be when they're able to open up and talk with you a little bit more. This is a picture of my family at Lake Michigan, and this is where we go every year, and we always go to these swings and kind of multi-generational play here. We love the swings. Everybody is laughing. People are swinging and jumping off. Adults are doing that. Kids are doing that. You know, my mom is on the swing here. So grandma's on the swing. This is play. This is connection time. And again, that oxytocin is flowing and the kids are seeing that, oh, you know, even grandma can get on the swing and have a good time. Mom can swing, right? So these are great opportunities. So I just love this picture because play happens at all age levels, and it's all so important. So play evolves and changes just like your child. No matter how playtime evolves, parents can use it as an opportunity to stay close to their growing children. So as your child grows, ask yourself, how does my child like to play? What are they into? What can this play look like? Notice the differences between your 3-year-old and your 7-year-old. It's going to be different. Notice the different temperaments your children have. They might want to play differently, and that is all okay, but just observe and be mindful. Think about how you can carve out 10 minutes each day to connect and play with each of your children. It can be more than 10 minutes, but if all you have is 10 minutes, that's okay. Where you're truly in it. They have your attention. You're not looking at your phone. You are giving them your undivided attention, and you're there to engage and connect with them. And play is important for spouses too. How do you play with and connect with your partner? And how do you model this for your children to show that, you know, I have fun with dad or I have fun with mom. We have fun together and we still play and we're connected that way. So to end, I'll say, oh gosh, right on time. Okay. Play is a form of connection. When kids are connected, they feel regulated. When kids are regulated, they are able to explore the world around them and grow. And so these are all linked together. And so, again, so important. If you have any questions, you want to talk more about play or anything else, again, my name's Emily Supino. I'm a counselor here in the Valley with a private practice. This is my email address. I also am the Kids First Early Childhood Mental Health Consultant and work with different, with the child care centers in Pitkin County and with families through those centers as well. So please feel free to reach out to me via email. And I guess just for anyone who is still here, are there any questions or thoughts? And if not, that's okay too.
Just want to say thank you, Emily, so much.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And I love when there's people who can make it live and also know that people will watch the recording. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining.
Andrea added in the chat. Great info and super helpful.
Oh, great. Yeah, sorry, I forget about the chats. Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for joining. Great. Well, yeah, just again, if any questions pop up or if you work with families and they're kind of looking for some ways to connect with kids or need some support, feel free to send them my way. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks so much, Emily.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.